right, Lindsey, what's in your lens today?
We're talking about Epstein. So when politicians start ducking questions, it's usually because they're standing in the middle of a fire. Many Democrats are convinced that Republicans are now using the government shutdown to stave off further scrutiny of President Trump's relationship with the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing back against that connection.
Democratic congresswoman from Arizona who would be a critical vote to releasing the Epstein files. How do you respond to that charge?
It's totally absurd. This has nothing to do with that. It's another red herring.
He later took to MSNBC to double down.
I'm for maximum disclosure. I want every page of this out. Donald Trump's not implicated in this. If he was, you'd have known about it a long time ago. He wants to protect the innocent victims. He and I have talked about this. He's very passionate about that. But he's for maximum disclosure, and his DOJ is shown that.
Now, Robbie's favorite person, Thomas Massey, was not buying that story. He posted on X, quote, contrary to what Speaker Johnson is doing, or what he says, Speaker Johnson is doing everything he can, including delaying the swearing in of the most recently elected member of Congress and spreading misinformation about the legislation to block a vote in Congress on legislation to release the Epstein files. Now, what's Massey talking about? He's talking about Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, who won a special election in Arizona to fill her late father's seat. A plaque with her name already hangs on her door, but Republicans are refusing to let her take oath. Why? Because her vote could be the one that tips the scale. Now, Grijalva has promised to back a bipartisan petition that would force a vote to release the Justice Department's Epstein files, the documents that might finally reveal who knew what about when about one of the most powerful predators in modern history. Democrats say Johnson is keeping her sidelined to stall that vote. His office insists it's, quote, standard practice, but that excuse doesn't hold water. He's sworn in 2 Republicans this year when the House wasn't even in session. So let's call it what it is, a stall tactic with a side of smoke and mirrors. Behind the scenes, the White House and Republican leaders are reportedly pressuring 3 GOP women, Representatives Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, to withdraw their signatures from the discharge petition. But for now, those women aren't budging. As Senator Chuck Schumer put it, quote, House Republicans care more about protecting the Epstein files than protecting the American people. Here's the thing. Secrecy has a shelf life. Every time leaders try to dodge transparency, public trust burns a little bit slower, but it still burns. If the Epstein files are really nothing more than a, quote, red herring, then prove it. Release the files, all of them, the Treasury files, everything. Because when people in power hide behind process and timing, it only confirms what we already suspect, that where there's smoke, there's fire. And this one isn't going out anytime soon. Sorry, Robbie. We got to talk about it.
Now I don't mean to be, I should not be conflated with the side who doesn't want to talk about the Epstein files.
Well, you said, oh, it's just, it's a Democratic hoax. You were on that bandwagon
I never said it's a Democratic hoax.
You very much were like.
I've said that some of the claims of the people who are obsessed with this story do not add up if you closely scrutinize the stories of the accusers. It's a gross thing to do. Nobody wants to appear to be on the side of sexual abuse, particularly sexual abuse of underage people, although not all of these people were actually underage at the time they alleged the behavior happened, and they have changed their stories or recanted accusations in exchange for million-dollar payouts from some wealthy people. But I'm all for disclosing whatever we need to know. It's a strange story that has baffled people for a long time. If Epstein has connections to Israeli intelligence or U.S. intelligence, and that's why his confinement in prison initially was far gentler than it ought to be. This is all stuff that should come out. And if powerful people are being protected, let's reveal it. But I no longer suspect that's the case. I suspect.
But
I mean, they're powerful people.
Do you not think that is strange?
There's not. It's
you use
not
the word
Trump
strange. So do you not think that it's strange that we're not swearing in a new elected congressional person because of what? And we've done it in the past this year. Johnson has done it himself with 2 Republican people. So it's like, why would we avoid swearing in Grijalva when she has a seat and she's going to be the final vote that moves Massey, who you love, idea forward? Why can't we? How can Johnson explain himself? Can you explain him?
Well, I'm not going to.
He's going on MSNBC.
My job is not to defend.
For sure, it's not. But I'm
not
trying to
my
understand
first
why is
choice.
nobody calling him to the fire? MAGA should be pressing him the same way the Democrats are looking at these clips and saying, "What is this? Why would you stall this woman?"
A lot of people in MAGA, and I'm going to criticize them now, were, I think, only interested in the Epstein story because they were hoodwinked by their own thought leaders into thinking that disclosure of the Epstein files, if Kash Patel and whoever else got into power, disclosure would mean powerful Democratic figures like the Clintons or whoever else were going to be exposed as
Only
child
Democratic?
rapists. That's what let me finish. That's what MAGA thought. And that is not true. Now, Democrats are interested in it because they think the reverse, that more disclosure is going to be embarrassing for Trump and going to show embarrassing associations between Trump or Republican figures and child sex crimes. And that's not true either. Neither side is going to get what they want, which is why this is now less of a story. People were hoodwinked, blinded by partisanship, thinking this was the answer. My enemies are pedophiles. This is what it will be proven when there's more disclosure, and that's not the case.
And I just think that the American public deserves better, whether it's Democrats, Republicans, or major business leaders or other people that are paying money to get things done, or whether there are international governments. I think that the point is the transparency is necessary. People are confused about how long that this person could go on and commit these crimes, whether you believe the specific people at the Capitol that were sharing their testimony, or whether you understand that this is a convicted criminal and all his associates, and people just want to understand how he was able to get away with this for so long. All that information should be released so that we can all be quelled in our concern that this will never happen again in coordination with our or any government. And if we don't see any smoke and fire there, then there's no smoke and fire. But what is the holdup?
Right, but again, you just said able to get away with this for so long. So he was sent to prison in the end of the aughts on a sexual misconduct charge that was weaker than it ought to have been. His crimes were much more serious than what he got, but what I've learned from reading the reporting is that the evidence against him in the form of the accuser's statements was not as compelling. There was they were going to get torn apart in cross-examination because they were not credible individuals. And so that is something prosecutors weigh as they determine what kind of sentence to bring. How credible are the witnesses I will summon at trial? So that was so you're asking, like, why was he allowed to get away with it? There's an answer to that we know. Like, that's why.
Something else they may weigh is that if a powerful government is like, hey, go easy on him, then that's something else that may be weighed. And so if that comes to light, that's a big issue.
But no one has presented a shred of evidence that was the case.
Well, people just want to see all the files. People want to see everything available, and then let the shreds of evidence come forward. And so there was a point where, and maybe you eased up off your stance.
There's no explanation when there is an explanation.
No, that's not good enough. I think that's
well, then it's okay. Then you're just rejecting what is publicly saying. That's
no. There's
not
a
what I
lot more
wanted to
information
hear.
available that Trump's administration has access to that can be released. There's a lot more information available, and so it's just like, why are they blocking Massey from releasing? Just be extremely transparent. If you say we have all the information we need and that everything has been done the correct way, and we're just making something out of nothing.
I didn't say we have all the information.
No, I'm saying
we
if
need.
President Trump. I'm not you.
I said there are. But there is also information that is already available.
And there's more, though, that's not available.
Explain some of the government's conduct in how it handled Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not saying it was correct or handled well. I would want to know more information. The area of this where I want to know more information, obviously the potential intelligence connection, and Ghislaine Maxwell does have an intelligence connection. So and
mind you, President Trump said he mentioned something that riled people up yesterday about Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah,
and so whether or not he pardons her is a big concern. Why would he have any incentive on even considering pardoning her?
And Epstein's connections to the Virgin Islands, where he headquartered himself after coming out of prison and bought a lot of political favors from the government there and had some associations with the Bank of America and some other continued as an association with Bill Gates. That stuff is all very sketchy, and I'd be happy to continue learning more information about it.
Me too.
Up next, many Republicans are outraged over documents showing how the Biden FBI obtained 9 lawmakers' phone records, Republican lawmakers. Stay with us.